We want to show the real side of small business, the true small business life. There are a lot of misconceptions about small business, and we want to give you a glimpse into the real life of a small business owner. The highs, the lows, the failures, the successes, the full small business life story, so that you too can know that you are not alone on your small business journey, and so that you can see the journey that many other small business owners have taken themselves. Remember to like, share, and comment so that many others can share in this small business life story. Hello, Shane. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, John. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Obviously, you survived 2020. How is 2021 going for you?
2021 is starting out spectacular, which
Awesome.
it's good. We last week, or was it 3 weeks ago? We're still a new business, so we're 2 years in December. We're 2 years old, but 3 weeks ago we did our best week ever, and then last week we did our best week ever and beat it by 50%.
Holy cow.
So we had, yeah. So it was really great, and we might looking to see the rankings for this week because it's a franchise. So at Mako we show rankings every week, but I hope to be like within the top three of the company.
And I believe you recently won an award for the progress that y'all are making.
Yeah, it was good. We won Rookie of the Year for our first. We're 2 calendar years in, but we've only completed one Mako fiscal year. So on the Mako fiscal year, we won Rookie of the Year, and like I never brag about stuff, so I should probably highlight some things. But we won Rookie of the Year, and we beat the all-time, from what I gather from the data that I've seen and what corporates told me, we beat that number by, we did 50% more than anyone's ever done in their first fiscal year.
Holy cow,
And
you
that
blew it
and
out
that
of
was
the
through COVID.
water.
Yeah, we did. We really did. And uh, that is from, that's with COVID and all that stuff. So it's been better than expected, but lots of challenge.
Indeed, that's the truth, right? What were the two key phrases or keywords of 2020? Number one, pivot. Number two, you're on mute. So
Yeah.
both very common. And I do want to come back to that. But beforehand, please, for those listening who don't know Shane Hollas, what is the backstory? How did you get to where you are today?
It's a sordid path. It's an interesting story. So, when I grew up a farm kid in a little town called Schulenburg, Texas, about 2,000 people, and then we grew up outside of there, out of town, a few miles outside town, and we had some cattle, and then my parents had a small insurance and real estate business. Uh, was pretty, did well in sports. Sorry, the police are walking in. We do the work for their vehicles. So
Oh, there
not
you
like,
go.
do you need me for something other than a vehicle right now? Hope not. But so ended up going to Texas A&M University, getting an engineering degree. Was involved in a lot of things there. Moved to California. So went out to Silicon Valley and what's up, man? and spent 10 years out there in the technology business, being like semiconductors. Mostly they're different areas of the semiconductor business, so distribution, services, and the actual OEMs that make the companies that make the semiconductors. Met my wife, who is also a Texan, but I met her living in San Francisco. So I joke and say I had to go to California to find a good Texas girl. And then we ended up getting married and having our first child there, and then moved back to Texas in 2009. And she is still working at Texas Instruments. I was still in the hardware, software, services space, and just said, you know what, man, I'm burned out on this. I want to do my own thing. I didn't really have an idea. I was scared. My last job, I was a VP of sales for a software firm, and making good money, had a lot of perks, global position, got to travel all over the place. It was excellent. I really loved that company, loved the deal, but I said, you know what? My future is doing something different. I think I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, but just scared to take the risk and scared, what am I giving up if I try to take this risk?
Exactly.
And
What's that
so
value proposition?
Yeah, like how do you decide that you're going to give up a lot of good things and a lot of stability and a lot of safety, even though I wasn't real motivated for it anymore. It sounds arrogant, but it's not meant to be that at all, which is I didn't get excited about presenting to the board, or I didn't have the passion to do a lot of the things anymore that I used to get really jazzed about. I loved customers. I loved
Right.
my teams. I loved building. I love, like, my MO within the technology space was fix broken businesses or start new businesses within the company. So I had that, and that's my passion, was building, growing, developing. And I kind of felt, all right, I've done that here. So my kids were younger at the time, um, and I just said, you know what? If I'm 2 weeks in Asia and home for a weekend, and 2 weeks in Europe and home for a weekend, and then traveling throughout the U.S. for the next 5 days, when am I really seeing? And I felt, okay, my job is to be the best parent that I can and the best steward of these kids that I can. And I'm a big believer in nature versus nurture. I think these kids are about 90% baked when they come out, right? And so you're you're not gonna, like, I think I'm just trying to affect that last 10%, you
Refinement
know?
almost.
Yeah, it's just taking who they are and trying to make them the best version of themselves. And so how am I going to do that if I'm on the road all the time? So it sounds silly, but I got connected with a franchise coach, which is a great, if any of your listeners are um, interested in looking at franchises, or if they already have their own businesses, et cetera, I could walk them through what a franchise coach does and the value that brought to me to help me find the business that I felt was right for me and I was right for. Um, so through that, I got this idea on Mako, and it sounds crazy, but I had to start my own business to have a better work-life balance.
No, it's a common thing that we hear among small business owners. They're successful in what they do. They have a very good corporate job, but there comes a point in time where they're burned out, or they're
Mm.
looking for that next thing. They're like, I've kind of done everything I can do here. I've got, XYZ left in my career. What can I do with it? And that's, again, why they get into small business. It's either innovating or creating, or work-life balance is one of the most common things
Mhm.
that we see.
So the common things, yeah, the work-life balance, and you know what I've noticed is I've no, and I took some time off. Like, I was really burned out on one company, and been there a long time. Things were changing. The organization that I joined wasn't the organization that I was at, and it's the frog in the water, right? And many people are going to know this analogy, but if you have a pot of boiling water and you throw a frog in there, the frog's going to jump right out. It's like, damn, that's hot. I'm gonna get out. But if you put a frog in a pot of cold water and turn the temperature up, it'll just sit there and cook to death, because the temperature is increasing gradually, so it doesn't know that it's dying.
Exactly.
And I felt that that was true for me in that one company. It's true for a lot of peers, and it's true for a lot of people that I see in the world today, because of um, work-life balance is not a thing. It's work and work, and people are stretched so thin. So I've started to see now that these people, especially when they're in areas of high responsibility, I'm starting to see more of my friends and more acquaintances and people on LinkedIn taking sabbaticals and just saying, I'm done for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. They're just, they are so spent that they need to take this break. And I was one of them, and I did it a few years ago, and that was eye opening, and it was enlightening, and it was recharging, and it was scary. But I wouldn't be on the path today if I hadn't taken that time to just reset, reflect, and determine what my priorities were going to be.
Well, it makes sense. You have to be able to, for lack of a better term, disconnect from
Hmm.
everything. Take a good look at yourself, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and making sure you're living a life that fulfills you. Because if it's not fulfilling you, it's one of those, well, then why are you doing it type of things. And again, back to that whole small business world, the ones that are most successful are doing what they love to do, not about the money. The money is a great reward, but it's not their purpose. They're doing it because they have a passion for something. And I think you'll be able to bring it up later and elaborate on it. But it's not that corporate doesn't pay well. Corporate jobs have great packages.
Hmm.
But when you're looking for fulfillment in something in a different arena, that's where the small business owner typically goes, start their own business, meet that fulfilling part of their life.
Yeah, 100%. And I and it's kind of the opposite that I find now that I'm in entrepreneur world and I'm surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurs and people. Some of these people have never worked for a corporate company or a corporate job. They've only
Hmm.
been their own business, and so they have the other fear and the other desire. It's like, well, I've done this on my own. What could I do in a corporate setting? And a lot of these people would crush it, because I think no matter, you're going to be successful. Successful people are going to be successful no matter what they choose to do. And it doesn't matter. And I've been in enough small companies, big companies, um, corporate, and now the entrepreneur side with, because I have this Mako business and I have the sausage business, and then I do some consulting stuff for business and sales leadership and things and technology as well. And so what I've learned throughout all those different avenues is the widget doesn't matter. The thing that you're selling, the product that you have, none of that matters. The fundamentals of building a business and being successful are all the same. And,
So true. That
and
that
so
goes
those
way beyond industries too.
that's what I mean. It doesn't matter the industry. It does. I didn't know anything about automotive, and we're able to figure it out in times of great uncertainty and of times of historic uncertainty and challenge. But you put your nose down and you just go and you figure it out.
And I think that's one of the big things. There is a lot of trial and error in small business. I mean, one of the hardest things you always, as a business, you always want to make data driven decisions. I think that's a huge component. I think one of the hardest part in small businesses is getting the data to make those decisions. But I do kind of want to circle back real
Hmm.
quick. Why Mako? What led you to choosing Mako as your business?
The franchise coach was fantastic, and she is wonderful. And their job is to, number one, determine, are you right to own your own business? And then, if yes, what business is right for you to own? And so they matchmake. We did a lot of interview stuff. And so she brought a ton of different businesses to me. And I didn't want to do food or anything related to that because the hours aren't attractive to me. The profit isn't attractive. The problems are not attractive. For me personally, there's not a lot of stuff there that I liked about that kind of lifestyle. I have friends that are wildly successful in it and they love it, but just not for me.
Right.
So I was looking at a lot of different things, none of which were automotive related, right? And finally, she goes, after months of this, and she goes, "Okay, I want you to keep an open mind, Mako." I'm like, "Uh-oh, better get Mako. That's all I know, right?" I didn't even know what Mako did. I'm like, they're in the car business, but I don't want to be in the car business. What do I know about the car business? And she goes, "Trust me, Shane, just listen." And so she started talking, and I'm like, "Huh, you might be onto something." So the reasons that I chose it is because, and this is again before COVID, I made this decision in 17, April of 17. I bought the franchise and we opened in December of 18. So it took that long to find a property, do this stuff, and get it open. But I chose it because I thought it's a good market where more people are driving cars. Everybody's going to get in a wreck, whether it's your fault or not. And Mako historically had a reputation. This is 49 years Mako's been in business, and I would say Mako historically had a reputation for the advertising they would throw out as like low cost paint jobs. And back in the 70s and 80s, paint jobs were a lot more important because people kept cars longer. Paint was not great from the factory, so they had this market of low cost paint jobs and good fleet kind of work.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, well, if I already got that market, and then I go and decide I want to get the insurance market and the kind of high end paint and restoration type market. Well, if I can do that, I'm the only guy in the market that wants to do all of this because nobody wants to paint cars unless you're a restoration shop and you're going to spend 15 grand, 20 grand, 10 at the cheapest and see your car 9 months later.
Right.
And the other kind of name brand corporate chains, if you will, they're only insurance. They're almost all reliant on the insurance company contracts that they've signed and insurance trying to send them stuff, which, by the way, the vehicle owner is in full control of where you get your vehicle repaired. Don't let the insurance tell you have to go somewhere.
Good tip right there.
Yeah. Um, and so I said, if I can get both markets, that's great. And then through my research, I also saw that some of the highest, the most successful years that Mako had were in the largest economic downturns that the U.S. had. So it was inversely proportional. Like, and that shocked me because, but what it showed was people when even when they don't have as much money because the economy's not doing great, well, they still need to get their cars fixed. And so they would go after more of an economical kind of somebody that's not going to force you to use insurance, somebody that's going to work with you to find options and trade-offs that can meet your budget. So I looked at it and said, the market's there already for what Mako does. I have an opportunity to get another 50% of a market, call it, that I can be successful at. I'm the only guy that wants to paint cars. I can work with all insurances, and I can give options for non-insurance work. And I can do fleet work, which nobody wants to do. So Amazon or enterprise or contractors. So I looked at it as I got a big market out there that's underserved, and also the automobile industry is a very untrusted uh, um, industry, if you will.
Hmm.
So, people, it's kind of like as soon as you walk into a body shop or repair shop, people automatically think they're going to get screwed over somehow, right?
Exactly. Your
Oh,
car needs this. Your car needs that. You need to buy this updated. Oh, your
yeah,
air filters are gone.
yeah, like, oh, we got to clean that air filter and it's going to be $40. Well, do we? And largely the public is ignorant. And that doesn't mean they're stupid. They're unaware. They're ignorant because they don't have experience with this. They don't have education, most people. So they're at the mercy of this. And when they don't know what someone's talking about, they automatically feel I'm getting taken advantage of.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of shops out there that take advantage of people.
Exactly. And that doesn't help the problem either.
No. So those are kind of some of the broad reasons that I felt, okay, if I can run this business like I ran my corporate businesses, my ethics, my character, the culture of my people, the quality that we achieve, aspire to achieve, if I can do that, I can be a destination place that people can trust and send their kids here and know that they're going to get taken care of.
And I think you bring up a really good point there. Every one of those factors you just listed was extremely internal to the way you conduct your business. I think very often it's
Mm,
easy for a small business owner to get sucked into I just have to do a better this, I have to sell more, I have to sell more. Yes, you need to increase revenues, but the way you do that is by building that solid framework, that solid structure with those clearly stated values, a clear vision statement, a good
mhm.
follow-up mission statement, all hugely important components because it builds that framework for growth. It's extremely difficult to achieve growth without it. Some people can truly out hustle it, but that's not exactly the recommended path.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, when you're starting any business, the only thing you got is hustle. You got, because even now from a branding standpoint, we get people, I think, so I'm 46, and I think I'm probably the cutoff where I think people older than me, especially when you get people in their 60s and 70s that are very familiar with like the 1970s and 80s and car, and
Right.
they'll have sometimes a image in their mind of low quality. Mako does low quality, like, and then you get people younger than me, all they see is, oh, I know that sign, I know that logo, I see a national brand, that's trustworthy. So it's the rebranding is important to let people know what we do, and the only way you're going to be able to get out there is to show them who you are as the owner of the business. You're the face of the business. You're the lead salesperson. You're the one that's setting the brand outside. So hustle is all you got. And there's a couple, like, here's a tidbit, I guess. If you look at the values, beliefs, and behaviors of an organization, what you value and your beliefs, and then how you enact those with your behaviors, when that's internal, when you're like inside your walls, well, that's your culture. But those values and beliefs and behaviors, when they go exterior and they're outside your walls, then that becomes your brand. And you
Absolutely.
can't have those are always going to be the same. So if your brand, what people see of you when you leave your building and when you're interacting on things like this or networking or something, That's the brand that you're establishing. And as a new business, I believe the brand ambassador and the brand manager is the owner who's going to go out there and say, this is my business. I care about it this way. And you need to trust me first and then take a risk on trusting my business.
Absolutely. Like I said, it goes back to, working with people you like, know, and trust. That's a very,
Mm-hmm.
very real thing. And yeah, you have to be able to go out there, shake hands, prove that you are who you say you are, and then consistently back it up day in and day out. And it's going to take time to do that. I mean, roughly, I think that's a really good concrete question too. How long do you think it took for you to establish your Mako where you are in the Rockwall area as one of the leading, if not the leading car company?
Well, I still don't think we're there, but I don't know if we ever get there. But I think within the first year, uh, we became known. So first, I looked at it from, I guess, three ways. First is awareness of who we are, awareness of what we do, and give me a chance to show you who we are and what we do. And I think that philosophy helped because I was out in the public a lot. And I always look, I got my little Mako shirt here. I'm branded
Absolutely.
like I'm the Zuckerberg of automotive repair, right? Like
Everyone
I
knows
wear,
exactly who you are and what you do as soon as you walk into the room.
as soon as I walk in, I got my uniform on here. And the only thing that changes is in the summer it goes short sleeve, right?
Yep.
And and so that branding is me. So whenever I walk in a room, oh, that's that Mako guy. They don't remember my name. They don't know who I am. They're like, oh, Mako guy. Man, I've seen you all over the place. Maybe I need to come see you with my car.
And
So I spend a lot of time just being out, showing this is a business. And hopefully, and then also spend a lot of time trying to help the community to show, look, I'm investing in this community because I believe in it and I believe in the people and I want to be seen as somebody that's a contributor to the community. And if I do that, then the community will reward me by also trying to contribute to my business because I'm giving them so much that
hmm
they're going to return to me.
absolutely. And to your point, that's all hustle. That's all sweat
Hmm.
equity. I mean, if you don't mind bringing on yourself a little bit, talk a little bit about the things you do for the community. Because I know you're very involved with the Rockwall Chamber of Commerce. I mean,
Hmm.
we do a lot of networking and things. You're truly everywhere. Talk about a few of the different things you do, please, just to give people an idea. When you say hustle, what exactly you mean? Because you are literally everywhere.
So the little town that my Mako is in is called Fate, Fate, and it's a small town. It's just growing amazingly fast, but it's right between Rockwall on the west and Royce City and Greenville to the east. So I'm involved with my city. I love the people that uh, lead and are in the Fate community, and I try to get involved. Like I'm on a committee for them for our long-term City of Fate long-term plan creation. So get on with them. I'm involved with any kind of sponsorship or as much of the sponsorships. And if they need somebody to speak at something, I'm there. If I can help contribute, I'm there. Groundbreaking, I'm there, right? And then on the Rockwall side, I'm on the board for the Chamber of Commerce. I'm on the leadership team for the Noon Rotary Club, which for here is a big deal. It's a lot of very great people in that organization. So I lead the programs there and a team that helps me lead the programs. And I'm constantly probably seeing a lot of if it's the young professionals group or somebody that is running a conference and they're looking for training and coaching, I try to provide that to a lot of the organizations. I also do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I have one-on-ones with a lot of people to help them try to grow their business, et cetera. And other businesses that'll come and ask me, hey man, can you help me out with this? And I try to do joint marketing as well with different organizations that are local so we can try to, hey, how do we band together and become stronger together by working together as a local market? And then within
Mhm.
Royce City, I'm in the chamber there. Actually, before this, I was at a chamber networking thing over there as well. So I think in general, it's I try to be involved in the organizations that are important and can have impact on growing the community and then be available to people who are seeking to grow themselves.
I think you bring up another really good point there too, because it's one of the things that we're really built on. It's that servicing others, coming in there with
Hmm.
that servant leadership, that servant's heart. Hey, I'm here to help. What can I do to contribute? What can I do to give? And it goes back to the whole Zig Ziglar philosophy. You can get anything you want in life if you're willing to help enough people get
Hmm.
what they want. And I think that is such a successful approach, because if you look at small business owners that have done really well, I mean, here in our area, prime example is Milestone Electric. They
Hmm.
are phenomenal, obviously, at what they do, but they're even better at the culture, at living their values and giving to the community, being engaged, being involved. And you're taking that model and applying it to your business, and it's proven to be pretty good for you.
Hmm. Hopefully. Right.
Well, again, if you look at the statistics, I mean, because again, we always like to look at data comparatively to other Americas, you're blowing it out of the water.
Yeah, for our time, for our tenure and our, infancy as a company, we're doing really good.
So,
But again, I think it all comes back to the sweat equity. And you were talking earlier about making data-driven decisions, and I agree, but I'm gonna tell you, get about 80% of the way there and go.
oh, for sure, that's
Maybe
a good point.
70%, because your intuition is going to be right. And being so much in the engineering space and the technology space, I saw a lot of engineers that would analysis paralysis. They would overanalyze everything. And I'm like, look, man, just give me 70% and I'll go figure the rest out in a tenth of the time it's going to take to analyze this thing, you
Exactly.
know?
Always get the data, but realize you're never going to get 100% of the data.
Hmm.
Get enough to make a well-educated decision. And to your point, yeah, that's going to be right around 70, 80% of the information out there, roughly. But again, to your point too, trust your gut. It's interesting you bring that up. We had a podcast guest come on maybe 6 weeks ago up in Illinois, and that was one of his tips for business owners. He was like, trust your gut. If you're
Hmm.
good at what you do, your gut's leading you in the right direction. Trust it. It's there
Your
for a
gut's going to
reason.
be right. Your gut will almost always be right. How many times, and especially if for business owners that have on here, how many times have you gone against your gut and go, that was dumb?
Exactly. You tried, and that's another, talk about a really funny paradox dichotomy. It's like, yeah, I'm going to follow my mind here. I'm going to go this way, but my gut's telling me go over here. I'm going to follow my mind. And then yeah, darn it. Why didn't I follow my gut on that one?
Hmm.
Trust your gut. You have it for a reason. And there's some even funny scientific things about the way the gut's connected to the brain. How you literally feel it in your gut before it registers as a conscious thought in your brain in some situations.
Hmm.
But yeah, going off on a tangent there, but true. You got to trust the gut 100%. So I do have a question here then. As a small business owner, what are some of the highs and lows? I mean, what's that peak moment where you're like, hey, this is like, I could not ask for anything more. I am 100% fulfilled. And what's the shoot, man? I don't know if we're going to hit payroll next month. What are some of the highs and lows that you've seen in small business ownership?
Man, I don't think I've hit the everything's great. Yeah. Yeah, I think I was on a small panel for the young professionals thing earlier this year, and they asked me, what do I worry about, or what's my biggest worry? And, and as I was thinking about it, I said, I think I worry about, I'm like a multi-level worrier, because the first thing I worry about is, because they was talking about entrepreneurship, starting your business, and I said, well, the first thing I worry about is failure, fear of failure. Okay, so say I don't fail. The next thing I worry about is, did I achieve everything I could have achieved? Did I hit my maximum potential?
Was there missed opportunity?
Yeah, did I miss opportunity? And let's say I do both of those, so I'm successful and I maximized all the opportunity of success I could have. Well, then the third thing that I worry about is, did I squander stuff? Like, did I achieved all this, but did I misuse the benefit? Did I waste money where I should have? Did I waste time where I should have? Like, so I don't think I'll ever be happy, right? Um, but so that's a problem, right?
It's one of those double-edged sword things, because it's not something you want to get sucked into in terms of mindset, but at the same time, that's also why you're always growing and improving. You're always
Yeah.
looking for that. What can I do better? Even if you get a 99% on a test, for an analogy, you get 99%, you have to be looking for, okay, what can I do to make up that 1% and hit that
Hmm.
100% grade? What can I do to move things forward? And I think that That attitude in business is so huge, especially in our modern day economy where everything changes so quickly. You cannot get comfortable with where you are and just stay there. I think
Yeah.
2020 proved that. There were some companies that did very, very well. They got a little comfortable. 2020 hit and they had a massive
Boom.
reset. And it was interesting because it hit everyone at the same time. But the point remains, if you're not comfortable with change and really, being on the cutting edge of things, small business ownership might not be up your alley, because that's what small business ownership is all about.
It is. And that's where you talk about the fears are those, and then it's when you're in a corporate job, you have backup, right? You're not really, yes, you have responsibility for payroll or you have responsibility for stuff, but it's not really your money. And I never fully appreciated when somebody said, until you're signing the payroll checks. Because I heard that, I was like, yeah, okay, well, I kind of sign checks now. Like, no, I didn't. That wasn't my money. That was the company's money. But it's a different factor when it's your checking account that comes out of.
The buck stops with you.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, okay, so I think about everything differently now, right?
For
If
sure.
I'm paying for this person, they better be yielding this thing. And I'm a big believer in people. I give people the benefit of the doubt. I always look, if something's a problem, first I look at myself and say, okay, what did I fail on?
Right.
How have I not trained this person? How have I not coached them? How
Did
did
it
I
put them
let
in the
this
wrong
person down?
role?
Yeah. And then, I used to leave a trail of dead bodies around, earlier in my career, where it's like, okay, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. Right. And there's benefit to that, but long term, I don't think it is. So I don't know. Anyway, so
Well,
I
again,
worry about the
yeah,
people, but the response. I think good business owners are going to take a lot of weight on their shoulders, and they're going
no
to carry
doubt.
responsibility for their people, for their customers, for their product, for their business beyond when they're done with that business. You see what I mean? I think,
You're creating a legacy.
yeah. And so that's where I think that struggle for me is probably the hardest, of how do I consistently provide business coming through this door that can pay for everybody here, not put my family in financial destitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still live up to the brand and the culture I want externally to see.
Absolutely, 100%. And again, it goes back to creating that culture, that strong framework towards creating value. Every cent that is spent within a small business needs to drive it forward, whether it's marketing, payroll,
Mhm.
accounting, product research, whatever it might be. Every dime that is spent needs to move the business forward in some way. And to your point, you absolutely have to look at those things. As a business owner, you're wearing 10 million different hats. You're wearing HR, you're wearing accounting,
Mhm.
you're wearing finance, you're wearing forecasting, you're wearing product development. You can go all the way down the list. You're, as a small business owner, you wear 10 million different hats. It's the nature of the beast.
And then, but that beast will eat you too,
Amen.
because you, and I'm hitting that point now where, yeah, when you're starting out, you are everything. And if you're trying to hire out and stuff, like I was meeting with a guy yesterday, that a colleague, and we were talking about his growth in his business and mine, and we were comparing, well, how many people do you have on payroll, and what's the dollar per employee on that, and how do you pay your, it's a contracting business. And so I was like really trying to understand, because I'm like, man, that's a lot of people for, he thinks he's going to do about $3 million next year. And that's his third 2.5 years in, if you will. And he's going to do about $3 million, and he's got 35 employees. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. That's like, 100,000 a head. Like, that doesn't seem, it seems like you're heavy. And so we talked through that stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I'm sitting here going, you're everything in the beginning. And now that you start to grow, you start to realize you being everything is now hurting your business. And that monster, that beast, will eat you alive, and your business will fail. And that's why a lot of businesses fail in that 2-year mark, 2 to 5 year mark. They fail because this person that is used to controlling and running everything and doing that isn't building a team to take responsibility so that they can go do what they should be doing.
Amen. Delegating. It's a huge component because I mean, I'm sure you can give a million different examples too. There are things in your business, I'm sure, at which you absolutely excel. And there are
Hmm.
probably some things that aren't your specialty. It makes no sense to be spending your time on those things you don't do so well and to be lacking in the things you do exceptionally well. No, 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 no. Flip that spectrum. Delegate that which you're not particularly good at. Focus on that which you excel. And
Hmm.
that's how you start create, again, to your point, creating a team where you really do. Yes, it is very much of a beast, but tame it. Tame the beast, put the reins on it, and make it go in the direction that you want to go. And you can only really get there by delegating.
Yeah, and I talked about it yesterday in a group thing where, um, and I have a big sports background, and so my family was pretty, my family was really athletic, and we all um, pretty much went and did a Division 1 uh, sport in college. So I'm not trying to brag on that, but we have a very athletic family. Some people play in the NFL, a lot of college athletes, et cetera. And so what I learned on that is, I don't remember who said it, but it's why would you spend your time on your strengths? Because, and this goes back to that nature nurture thing with the kids. Like I'm never gonna, and I learned this with sales teams too, or just anything. You're never gonna take somebody that's a 2 at something and make them an 8. But you can take somebody that's a 7 at something and make them a 10 on that thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so don't spend time trying to overcome your weaknesses, because you know what? You're always going to be terrible at them. Just face it. Like you're going to stink at some stuff. Awareness of that is where the trick is, because, and what we were talking about yesterday was Pareto. 20% or 80% of value is going to come from 20% of a thing.
Yep.
So if your sale 80% of your revenue is going to come from 20% of your activity. And what is your Pareto? What is your personal 20% that you say, you know what, I am best in class at this. This is my core competency. And if I default to something, it's going to be this. And so, like for me, that's sales, because I love it. I love helping people. I'm a teacher, I'm a coach at heart, and I love helping grow people and giving them some kind of value, and them going, man, thank you. Like that's the greatest reward I get. Thank you for helping me.
Yep.
So how 20%? That's 1 day out of 5. So 1 day out of a work week. If I can spend 1 day of a work week doing my 20%, then doing sales, that'll yield 80% of my revenue. So now, what if I got to spend 2 days a week? So now
Exactly.
that 20% becomes 40%, and that 80% becomes 160%. See what I
So
mean? Like the orders of
absolutely.
magnitude. So that's where I look at it as, okay, and I'm in that position now where I'm thinking, and part of the things I was talking to this guy yesterday about and some other people is, well, does it make sense for me to bring on an admin right now, even if it's a part-time person, to help me with returns, invoicing, um, somewhat payroll, but just like these tactical activities that are bogging me down, that I can't go out there and do what my strength is.
Exactly. And that's where you can, again, with enough data, you can literally put a number on it and say, hey, I spent XYZ hours and I get, $8 out of it. What if I move more time over there and I can supplement over here? And to your point, yeah, there's your 80-20 rule coming into effect big time because you start scaling and multiplying that. Yeah,
Hmm.
then you've got quite the sucker that's growing there.
But I'm scared to death of it. And that's what I think a lot of things for me is fear. Um, Fear of making a bad decision that costs money, costs business. Um, so sometimes I will overanalyze a bit and I'll delay a little bit. And that's, even I think my scale is still probably more aggressive than the normal person, but I still think, why did I wait so long to do that? And again, as a business owner, it's fear. Am I ready for that next step? I'm always self-conscious about, am I ready for the next step? Like this is kind of interesting. I can't remember the book I listened to all these books on audio because I can't read to save my life because I'm so spacey. I have to read the same paragraph like 10 times. But if I listen to it, I pay attention and I'm engaged. Um, but it was talking about successful people, and one of them was Maya Angelou, who's very successful. And she said on her 6th book, like her 6th mega successful book, when she was getting ready to release that, she had this big fear that said, oh my gosh, they're finally going to figure out I'm a fraud. Like, what? Are you kidding me?
So,
But it's and I feel like that's the same way it is I feel I'm almost never good enough.
so I've
Am I ready for this? Have I earned the right to be successful? Have I paid enough dues to earn success? And I don't know if I'll ever truly feel that.
So we call this podcast Real Small Business. Let's get real for a minute.
That was pretty real.
How do you overcome that fear?
I th-
Because I can tell you, looking at you, and I know you personally, you never show a hint of that fear.
yeah.
And so you've got something good going on to where you're able to combat that and overcome it. How do you do it?
I think the fear is overcome by just saying, what are you going to do? I'm going to get up. I'm going to knock it out of the park. I'm going to get up and I'm going to, like, all I can do is throw effort and intelligence towards it. Effort and the intelligence is try to make good decisions on where you're placing your effort. Right. So that's the thing. I'm scared to death, but I've also, through experience of, starting things, and like, I don't think most of the jobs that I got, I had to really convince somebody to give me. And I was largely not qualified. I don't feel like I was ever the top candidate for anything. And I don't think I was ever the most qualified for any job that I ever had. But I out hustled it, and I out wanted it. And I remember there was this, was it third job I had out of college. And, well, the first job I had, they didn't give me an interview. This is in college. They didn't give me an interview. It was for an internship. And I hounded them so much that they finally just said, yes, we'll give you the internship. Just like, stop calling us. Like, yes. So I got that, and then taking a job with them to move out to California and did that thing. Well, fast forward a few years, and I was going for this regional sales manager position for Silicon Valley. So the largest market for this company, and it was their most broken. And I was 25 years old. Zero experience. I had never worked for a semiconductor manufacturer. I had never directly led a team, and I was the least attractive candidate. But after all these rounds of interviews and stuff, I met with the president for the third time, and I was so burned out at this point. And I said, "Hey, he brought me in there, and he kept me waiting for like 15 minutes, which I hate waiting. And so he's 15 minutes late. So I get in there, and he goes, Shane, I'm giving you the job. And like an idiot, I go, why? Like, I was so burned out. I was like, why? Why now? And he said, because if you take doing this job like you took getting this job, you're going to do fine. And what he told me was, you don't have all the experience, but you're working harder, and you know why you want this and what it's going to do for you and what you're going to do for us. So the effort is why you're getting this job. And that was like eye-opening. Whoa.
Talk about one of the most impactful internal things that each individual can control: effort. That's like one of the few factors you have 100% control over, and that greatly dictates success. It's that effort. I mean, you were, as you showed there, you've shown with Mako and various other endeavors. Yeah, you're going to give 150% and go above and beyond. You're going to go figure out, do what it takes, whatever that might be, and make it happen.
Yeah, and even in sports, I don't think I was, I had some talent, but I don't think I was ever the most talented athlete. But I outworked you. I knew a lot of people that, they were much more gifted. But you know what? I was the one that won because I had more effort, and I would put in the time. And that's where you're talking about, how do you get over this fear, and how do you get up every day, is just to know that, okay, yeah, that's fear. But you know what? I can outwork fear.
Absolutely. And believing in yourself, knowing that you have that control, you have that capability, you control the effort. When you control the effort, you'll control the outcome. Just like that.
And decisions. Effort and where you place that effort.
Amen. Preach it, brother. Preach it. So we got about 10 minutes here. I want to be conscious of your time here. Based on your experiences as a business owner, your background, so on and so forth, if you had 3 tips for small business owners, what would those be?
Different stages of business need different things, right? But I would say, don't get bogged down in running the business. Make sure you're taking strategic time to reflect on what you want your business to be and how you're going to measure. Be strategic. It's so easy to get just tied down in the detail, and you're
Yep.
going to miss why you're doing what you're doing. So I'd say do that. Number two would be control the things that you feel are imperative to the success of your business and you knowing your business. So for me, that's like I have an accountant, but I do all the books. I do all the books. I do the payroll. I'm in charge of the finances because that helps me learn the triggers in my business. How are we doing? How are we not? Where are we spending money? Where are we not? So I think control the strategic direction of your business and take time to reflect on it. Especially early on, control your finances. Be 100% in the know on your finances. And then number three, know that you're going to get your butt whipped every day. Like every day, you're going to get your butt kicked with something. And know that your emotional journey is going to take you to some super low lows. And know that you're not alone. Like you're not different. You're not special that you're failing because everybody is. And that's, I think, don't think that you're going to come out and be successful. Know that it's going to take you 2 to 5 years to really build that business. And the amount of effort you put in is going to accelerate that timeline. So I'd say
Absolutely.
be in control of your strategic direction and take time to reflect and make strategic decisions on how you're running the business, who your customers are, who your customers are not, what you want to be known for, what you're willing to say no to. I think one of the biggest challenges is every customer looks good in the beginning. And then you gotta, as you start to learn, you realize, you know what, my core customer is this. And the sooner you start saying no to customers that don't fit, the sooner you're going to start seeing more customers that do fit. So that's
Absolutely.
that strategic thing that you're going to develop over time, but just make sure you're spending time on it. Be in control of your finances and get a peer group of other business owners and support people that are going to tell you the truth, and they're going to kick you in the butt and smack you in the face when you need to hear it, but they're also going to support you when you need the emotional support, and they're going to be there for you to lift you up.
Absolutely. We weren't created to go through life alone. We just weren't created. If you look at the human race, we're not built to be loners like that. We're built to have community. We're built to have that support structure. And that's the same reason why, for example, if you look at like a mega church, they take, life groups and they bring it down to
Mm-hmm.
smaller support groups. It's the same thing in business because again, as a business owner, there are a lot of things you can't talk about with employees, for lack of a better term, down the food chain, whether it's middle management, frontline, so on. It's a part-time contractor. There are a lot of things you can't talk to them about, but you need to be able to talk about it with someone. And
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to your point about finding the right group of people, that support structure. It's hugely important for one's success.
And as an entrepreneur, you feel very like I feel very isolated a lot of times. I feel very alone, and a lot of my friends that are in their corporate world, like they don't comprehend the questions that I have or the struggles that I have. They just, and it's not that they're very smart people,
Mm-hmm.
but they until you're in it, you don't understand.
It's so funny you bring that up. One of our members, we were talking about it last week, and he was like, "Yeah, I would really like to be able to have that support group because
Hmm.
it, I can talk to a brain surgeon, super, super smart about my business issues, but it won't click, for lack of a better term. It won't resonate. Whereas if
Hmm.
you're talking about that issue with the business owner, they get it. It's like, I know exactly what you feel right
Hmm.
now. I've been there. I'm there right now. You need to surround yourself with those peers.
And I would say do that sooner than later. And also, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but like my wife is a very intelligent, very successful business person, salesperson at Texas Instruments. I don't know if I should have said that, but but I still hide a lot of stuff from her. I don't. I mean, I filter a lot of stuff because I don't want that coming home. And I think, in my opinion, as an entrepreneur, a father, a husband, a wife, a mother, it doesn't matter your gender, right? But if you're the business leader, I think you need to have a group that's outside your family that you can go to be 100% transparent with everything, because I think there needs to be a little bit of separation, because even my wife, who's fantastic at all kinds of stuff, but I've noticed that if I tell her some certain things that to me I'm not worried about at all, she's like, "Oh, how was the day? Oh man, well this thing happened," and she's like, "Oh my god," she freaks out because I'm like, "No, this is not a big deal. Like this is nothing. I didn't tell you about the bad stuff."
Yeah, right.
you know? So I don't know. I think gauging who you talk to based on what they can handle and how that affects them long term is kind of smart to think about too.
Totally, totally. I mean, those are all really applicable things that small business owners can do today. It's not something that they have to spend a ton of financial resources on either. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of that, again, it's
All
sweat
that's
equity.
free. All that's free,
Exactly. The only
except outsourcing the things that you're no good at.
exactly. But again,
But
you
that
can put
pays
a
for
number to that.
itself. But exactly, yeah,
Exactly.
put a number to it and pay for itself, right?
Exactly. Then it becomes a financial decision. And once you put numbers on it, those decisions are pretty darn easy to make.
And invest ahead of the curve.
Amen. Amen. Don't wait for the curve to come to you. By the time it hits, people are
You're too
already
late.
you missed the opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity cost. Shane, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing the life story, the experiences, for being real and authentic with us, and for those tips as well. They're all applicable, and people can definitely learn from them. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I enjoyed being on here, and happy to, if anybody has any questions later, happy to give them my contact info. Love to help people, or if they heard something that they said and said, "Man, I disagree with you. I think you need to think about it this way or this way." I'd love to get that feedback too, and hopefully I can learn something.
Well, there you go. Y'all listening, drop a comment here, like it, share it, and keep the conversation going. Shane, thank you so much. You stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll talk soon.
All right, John. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you for having me. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.